At a press briefing on July 2nd, 2024, a reporter stated, quote, "The administration strongly criticized the media for clips showing the president appearing to be confused, freezing at times. You called it cheap fakes, misinformation, disinformation, and in one case implied that it was the product of artificial intelligence, calling it deep fakes. Do you have any regret over using that language?" End quote. You responded, quote, "No, not at all. And let me be clear, it was a certain part of the media." End quote. Was the term cheap fakes something that was put into the binder?
Meaning?
When you used the term cheap fakes, was that your choice of words in the moment, or was that something that had been prepared ahead of time as a talking point?
It was prepared.
Do you know who prepared that?
It came from, again, various offices, departments, in creating the talking points for that particular issue.
Sure, but to be more specific, who would generally handle?
I don't recall. If you're asking me where that came from specifically, I just don't recall.
And did you or did anyone ever verify if the videos you were talking about were in fact cheap fakes?
I believe so.
What is a cheap fake? I really don't know.
It was something that we did not coin. It was something that the media coined. They did the work. They did the legwork on coming up with that terminology, and so we were just elevating essentially what the media was saying, what the press was saying.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so yeah, she's not completely telling the truth right there. That she's being very, very deceptive. I'm not going to say she's lying, but she's being tremendously deceptive, and I think I can prove it because I went to Grok. You know, I love using AI just to fact check because, you know, all these AIs have a liberal bias, and Grok seems to be a flaming liberal, as a matter of fact, because I asked Grok a simple question, just outright simple question: who coined the term cheap fakes? That's it. No prompts from anything else, just that. And it gave me this. It said Britt Paris and Joanne Donovan coined the term cheap fakes, or cheap fakes, which is the same thing. I don't know why Grok's insane, but in their 2019 report, Deep Fakes and Cheap Fakes, the manipulation of audio and visual evidence published by the Data and Society Research Institute, they defined it as audio-visual manipulations created with low-cost, accessible tools, or none at all, distinguishing them from AI-generated deep fakes. Which, okay, so it's deceptively edited videos, right? Now, they were talking about all these videos that were surfacing of Joe Biden giving speeches where they would take a segment of Joe Biden actually freezing up and pausing or stumbling over his words, and she was calling that cheap fakes. This is the whole cheap fake scandal, if you guys happen to remember that. I remember it quite well. Yeah, they were putting that out. Oh, this is just fake news. This is deceptively edited video. Like sure, it's out of context clips, but once again, it doesn't really need much context when Joe Biden freezes up like this.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, the idea that and Joan Shingang, I'm going to pronounce it right, Shanga. But there's, there to be, beginning this effort, and I want you to know that I want to thank you as well for. But the nature, not put in his little shrine.
Fascinating that is, right? But let's go ahead and get into this thing because, yes, folks, we're talking about the cheap fake scandal, and they're going to press her a little bit on this. So y'all make sure and smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click the join button, sign up, and become a member. That's the best way to help this channel expand and grow. And without any further ado, folks, here's the cheap fake scandal.
So do you know what it is?
I mean, it basically is laid out with how you defined it with what President Biden was actually doing, and it took away from what he was actually doing or created an illusion of something that just did not exist, but using him. And so that is what we were calling out. And the press was calling it out too. We were just elevating it in the briefing room.
But were all clips circulated on social media or otherwise showing President Biden being confused or freezing at times, were those all fakes?
I can't speak to everything that was on social media.
Sure, but there were instances where videos were circulated of President Biden appearing confused or freezing for a moment that were real, correct?
Not that I recall. What we were trying to lift up was something that was very, very clear that what they were showing was not actually what was happening.
Did you ever see President Biden appear confused?
No.
What about during the debate performance? Did he not appear confused to you there?
He, during the debate performance, he seemingly to me looked like he had a cold. And that's what he said. And from someone who saw him every day, that's what I saw. Someone who had a cold, who was hoarse, and that is something that he said that he had.
So when he said, "We finally beat Medicare," that's indicative of a cold to you?
I think he was sick. I can't speak to what he was thinking at the time. He said it was a bad night. He said it was a bad performance.
Is it fair to say, though, that it was reported in the press after the debate that President Biden appeared to be confused when he delivered that line about beating Medicare?
I mean, I can't characterize what the president was feeling or thinking.
I'm sorry, but
No, I hear.
Regardless of whether you think he was confused, do you think that the American people thought that he was confused in that moment?
I think it was a bad debate. And he said it was a bad debate.
Well,
I think it was indeed a misstep. I do think it was a misstep. And that's what it looked like, and that's what he said, that it was a bad debate.
Well, and the reason, I don't mean to split hairs,
Yeah.
the reason I'm asking, I think this question that was raised to you at this press briefing was very shortly after the debate. And so the way I read that is, were all of the clips of so this is my question, were all of the clips being circulated of President Biden where he appeared to be confused, they weren't all cheap fakes, were they?
You're asking me to speak to a hypothetical that I can't answer. I don't know all of the videos or tapes that are out there. I just can't answer that. I can't speak to that.
And so you don't think that your characterization of these videos as being cheap fakes may have been misleading to people who are seeing clips from the debate where President Biden, in my opinion, appeared to be confused? You don't think that was a confusing statement?
I think you're bringing a bunch of things together. Don't believe that that's what I was doing, misleading the American people. I was lifting up something that the press themselves talked about and laid out. And we were really just making that clear as well to the American people, something that the press talked about in those particular moments. And we were speaking about specific videos.
So there were specific videos that you were referring to with cheap fakes?
There were specific videos that the press was referring to cheap fakes, and that's what we were lifting up.
Did you ever clarify the specific videos that you meant when you called them cheap fakes?
I mean, I don't recall. I mean, I think at the time it was very clear to the press what I was talking about. I don't think there was confusion in the press room at the time about what we were talking about because it was all over the news. It was being reported on pretty heavily.
Yeah, go ahead.
So switching gears a little bit, neurologist Dr. Kevin Kennard visited the executive mansion 8 times in 8 months between 2023 and 2024. Do you recall these visits?
I mean, I know that it was reported on.
Do you know what prompted those visits?
I believe there was a statement that was put out by Dr. O'Connor explaining. So I would have to refer you to that statement.
So at the time, your only knowledge of Dr. Kennard's visits would have been the publicly available memo from.
At the
Dr.
time, I think it was reported by the press first, and then there was a supplemental memo that came out from Dr. O'Connor.
So you recall that memo? You
The
recall?
supplemental memo?
Yes.
I recall the supplemental memo being released to explain Dr. Kennard's visits.
And then at a press briefing on July 8th, 2024, you cited, quote, security reasons, end quote, when refusing to explain the details of the neurologist visits. You never said what those security concerns were.
I believe the supplemental memo, spoke to Dr. Kennard's visits, and I would refer you to that.
Had you ever heard the name Dr. Kennard before this was reported on?
Not that I recall.
Did you ever hear about a neurologist visiting the White House prior to this being reported on?
Not that I recall. As you know, as it's connected to his physical, he sees an array of specialists, but I would have to say no. I don't know any visits from Dr. Kennard
And
beyond learning this.
And did you you received questions, correct, about the president participating or somehow completing a cognitive exam? You received those questions, correct?
Correct.
Did you ever know of the president, in fact, taking a cognitive exam?
Not that I'm aware of.
Are you aware of anybody in the White House advising that the president take a cognitive exam?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you ever say, like, it would make my job easier if he just took the cognitive exam?
It's not my decision to make.
Is it, I really don't know, would it have been inappropriate to say, like, this would make my job easier if he just took the cognitive exam?
I think that's up to the medical doctor.
In her interview, Anita Dunn explained that some of Biden's senior advisors came to a consensus that Biden shouldn't take the cognitive exam, concluding that it would offer no political benefits. Were you aware of those discussions, or?
I don't recall. And I've said this earlier, as the White House press secretary, I'm not in every meeting, right? It's not my job to be in every meeting. There's some conversations that are going to happen that I'm not involved in, that I'm not included in.
So you don't recall being aware that the reason that President Biden wasn't taking a cognitive test was that it had been deemed that it would offer no political benefits?
And I will also say that I wasn't part of kind of political strategy, because that was not part of my portfolio. And that was something that I was not, as a White House press secretary, was not capable of doing, or was part of my purview.
And when you said to my previous question that you believed that it was up to the doctor for the president to take a cognitive exam, you're referring to Dr. Kevin O'Connor again?
Yeah, he was the president's doctor, so I was referring to Dr. O'Connor, and he has a team. The president has a team of doctors. Every president does. It's not unusual.
And Dr. O'Connor pled the fifth when he came before this committee. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware.
Do you have any knowledge of why Dr. O'Connor would plead the fifth?
I'm assuming it's because he's a doctor and just out of, that's what would not be uncommon. That's what I believe. I have no idea. I can't speak to anything beyond that.
Well, actually, Ms. Tomasini and Mr. Bernal both also pled the fifth in front of this committee. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware.
Same question. Do you have any knowledge about why they would do that?
I don't have any knowledge.
Okay, like, seriously, I want to know why these investigators simply can't say, that's not an answer, you dodged the question, try again, and continue that until she actually gives the correct answer. I don't want to hear about this you don't remember nonsense. I don't want to hear about what they thought, or you can't speak to what they thought. We want to know what you think. You're sitting in front of us. We want your opinion. What do you think then? What do you think now? What do you think at all? Do you even think? That's not an answer. Stop dodging my questions. Why can't we get that from these people? Like, what is so hard about doing that? Like, the little bit of pushback that we do get, like, so all of those videos were cheap fakes? Like, what was really going around? Like, and I've been airing some of those clips in my videos over the past few days. I'll run it again right quick.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to look. A solid meeting with the Los Angeles and what am I doing here? From the they also increase corporate growth. They make a very good point. Here's the deal. $159 billion less. My plan is to make concrete. I know President,
Yeah, that's not, I'm sorry. Look, you want to compare and contrast something right quick? This is what Karine Jean-Pierre is trying to get you guys to believe is Joe Biden having a cold, as a matter of fact. Let's go with Joe Biden without a cold.
Points. I think there is. And I think that the McCain-Kennedy bill, Kennedy-McCain, the Specter bill that came out does it. If you take a look, Chris, at what Frist is talking about, only enforcement. The enforcement provisions that sit inside the Specter bill, the McCain or the Kennedy-McCain bill, there ain't a dime's worth of difference to them. They're the same amount of money, 12,000 new border agents.
You think they work?
I think they will work better if they actually, in fact, do it.
Can you scare an employer in this country, whether he's an agricultural worker or a housewife, into not hiring an illegal because the punishment's so high that if you get caught,
yes,
it's a huge embarrassment to your family, and you may just get hit with a fine that'll kill you.
Absolutely, you
can do that.
And that's what we should do. Well, I think we should do that.
Because you can't catch everybody.
You can't. No, you can't. And the last part of this is that the Democratic position also recognized you got 11 million illegal aliens here. They have to have a way to earn their way into the deal. This is an amnesty. They're required to take 11 years' worth. They pay a fine. They got to learn to speak English. They got to pass tests.
I like the English part.
Yeah.
I like the English part.
By the way,
if we want the problems of Canada right now, keep encouraging people to keep their foreign language. English is going to unite this country potentially. It always has in the past.
I can't think of a country that has two languages as their accepted languages that is doing all that well, including Switzerland and or Canada.
It divides us.
Yeah.
You can't talk to each other. Anyway, thank you, Senator Joe Biden.
And Joe Biden with a cold.
Care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare,
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security.
Look, I know that there's several years difference in between those two clips, right? Look, I get it, but that's what they're trying to make you believe, that that's Joe Biden with a cold and Joe Biden without a cold. I'm sorry, a cold does not do this to somebody.
3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. Putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban.
Yeah, it doesn't do that. I'm sorry, you might not feel good, you might not be able to respond as quickly, but a cold does not knock down your IQ points. It may slow down your response time. It may, take away your engagement a little bit. You may not want to engage, things of that nature, but it's not going to make you just utter complete nonsense, just gibberish, just complete gibberish. Like, what in the F was he talking about there? What in the F is he talking about right here?
What must be what? I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure. Let me start off with 2 words. Made in America.
Right? It wasn't just that one clip. It was the entire debate. What the hell was he even talking about the whole time? Like his entire presidency, he would go on these just rambling, nonsensical spiels that nobody could understand what the hell he was talking about. And he would say stuff like this.
We choose science over fiction. We choose truth over fact. Are you ready to choose freedom over democracy? Because that's America. Yes.
And it's just utter nonsense. It's just complete nonsense. Like, huh? And they want us to believe that they never thought that Joe Biden was mentally incapacitated. Not in the least, folks. Not in the least. He was completely there. He was a freaking dynamo in the background. And you guys, you are just manipulating the facts. You are manipulating media. You are manipulating what you saw with your own eyes. Your eyes are lying to you. That's what they're trying to get us to believe, folks. That your lying eyes and ears cannot tell the difference between a cheap fake, a deep fake, and reality, because that clearly isn't reality. And just so happens, though, folks, according to them, we have no video footage of what Joe Biden was actually like. It's so funny. We have all these clips. We have all this data, right, that shows Joe Biden was mentally incapacitated. And they were telling us he was a dynamo in the background, but there is zero evidence that Joe Biden was a dynamo in the background. But there is all this other, just an overwhelming preponderance of evidence that shows that Joe Biden was mentally incapacitated. It's so funny, y'all. It really is. And what really scares me the most about all of this is that, if Kamala Harris would have won, we would have this for another 4 years, folks. How the hell could the federal government handle 4 years of Kamala Harris as Commander-in-Chief? CEO of America, folks. How the hell could Kamala Harris handle that? What would her role have been? Would she have stayed as the press secretary? Or would she have moved up? I mean, clearly, Democrats fail their way to the top. We've seen that over and over and over again. Like, look at anybody, for crying out loud. Anthony Blinken failed his way to the top. Pete Buttigieg failed his way to the top. Alejandro Mayorkas failed his way to the top as well. Of course, Alejandro Mayorkas came off as much less of a partisan. Merrick Garland's another one. He came off as much less of a partisan until the Biden administration. And then they just turned their partisanship all the way up past 11, past anything you've ever seen before in your entire life, folks. It was completely absurd what we saw with the Biden administration. They just went ham on just about everybody and, kind of ruined the reputation of the American government all across the world, for goodness sakes. I mean, look what Putin did. Look what China was doing, for crying out loud, during the Biden administration. I mean, they were just so aggressive with Taiwan. And have we seen the same kind of action since Donald Trump came in office? No, as a matter of fact, we got news the other day that was talking about Xi Jinping promised Donald Trump he's not going to make any sort of moves, not while Trump is in office. Now, that could be just Trump bluster. We have no idea, but it is what it is, folks. People start to step in line when Donald Trump is around. I don't know if that's just coincidence. But, once again, folks, I don't believe in coincidence after coincidence after coincidence, right? Like, you cannot have 100% coincidences, like just constantly, just an endless stream of coincidences, and think that, it's just happenstance. That just so happened to happen, by the way. No, I'm sorry, that's not how reality works, folks. Like, Donald Trump has ended so many foreign wars at this point. Sure, they were minor skirmishes. They weren't full-blown wars. But even still, he ended them quickly. He still hasn't stopped the Russia-Ukraine invasion, or the Russian invasion into Ukraine, I should say. Still hasn't stopped that one yet. But, that's a tough sell right there. Because for Putin, how do you back out at that point? How do you back away from that? Have they denazified? Now, clearly they haven't. There's been evidence surfaced recently that one of the generals for the Ukrainian army is a full-blown Nazi. Like, okay, so that's troubling to hear. All right, they were praising a Nazi in Canada, for crying out loud. It was some Ukrainian guy, World War II veteran. They were praising this dude. Like, what? Oh, and when they found out that, this guy was a full-blown Nazi, hang on just a second. Oh, we're gonna walk that back a little bit, but never condemn any of it. Never condemned any of it, folks. Not a single bit of it. You get this AG that just got voted into Virginia. The dude sent a text message threatening to kill the House Speaker of Virginia, the Virginia delegation. And then not only that, but he wanted the man's wife to watch his 2 children die in her arms so they would think twice before opposing gun control. How absurd is that? Then you've got this other guy that has a Totenkopf tattoo on his chest for 18 years. And whoops, I had no idea that's what that was. Really? Are you serious? So once again, folks, it sure is starting to look like with Democrats, every accusation is a confession with these people. They keep calling the conservatives Nazis. They call Donald Trump Hitler. But hang on just a second. These are the very same people with Nazis within their ranks, praising actual Nazis in Canada and all this other nonsense. With all this fascism that we're getting from Antifa, it's utter hypocrisy, folks. And that's something the Democratic Party has in droves, is hypocrisy. And lots of it, folks. But I think I've rambled on for long enough. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Like, really? Like, some of this is like, really? Just, that's all I can really say about that is just, are you being serious with some of these answers that are not really answers? Like, we don't care. For the most part, nothing is going to come of this, but it's fun to enjoy it anyway. I love to watch her squirm because it sure does appear like she's squirming. It sure does appear like she is absolutely freaking squirming, and I love it. But you guys smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click that join button. Sign up and become a member. That's the best way to help this channel expand and grow, folks. But without any further ado, here's the end of the video. And I just want you guys to know that God has a plan for all of us. Just about all of us. Nope, I take that back. Every single one of you out there. There is a plan. You may not know what it is. And I can promise you one thing, folks. He loves each and every one of you out there. So you guys try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.
Leading tech companies like Anthropic. And going to mispronounce. I'm not going to try. The beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer. It is refined. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. By the end of the governing crisis, it's time to end these constant. Anyway, it'll be good. Because that's why we can't let. Well, we cannot let this election be one where the same man who was president 40 years ago. I'll never forget. Well, I won't go into that. Anyway, I just think that Florida Small Business Winner Award winner, Business Week winner. Now, he doesn't involve our institution. About the former prime minister. Like to take baths up that. Anyway, overruled to reinstate the 32nd freestanding, have 30 free. I'm just following my orders here.